Hello everyone and welcome to the Grumpy Surfer podcast. I am the Grumpy Surfer and your host, Ads Lyson. Before we crack on, I have a couple of discount codes for you. For 15% off your Northgore outdoor and surfing gear, use the code capital letters GrumpyPod15 to get 15% off at the checkout. Likewise, the guys at Braw Surf have given all podcast listeners 20% off their merchandise by using the code capital letters Grumpy Surfer. Also give their YouTube channel a visit and a subscribe because they've got some awesome content on there. Okay, in light of the recent events in Afghanistan, I'd like to put my point of view across. I've served in Afghanistan for 3 tours over a 10-year period. It is the most beautiful country I've ever been to, full of culture, history and amazing scenery. It was our job in Afghanistan to go there and rid the country of the Taliban, which the majority of the population did not want around, nor tie themselves with harbouring terrorists. I went over there, lost a lot of friends and gained some life experiences to fill at least 10 lifetimes. Yes, I feel I made a difference and hope the losses we suffered meant something. However, as a nation and Western society, to give such short notice to leave a country in dire need of help, then up and go, almost throw the middle finger up at the Afghans after helping them build a society and a little bit of normality that they were craving, and then say, "See you later, fuckers, you're on your own," is unforgivable. Like a lot of veterans and serving personnel, the level of anger that I felt over the last week has been quite overwhelming. Which leads me on to this podcast this week. Today's podcast is with the guy that almost paid the ultimate price in Afghanistan, but in helping secure a struggling country, he lost 3 limbs in the process. During his recovery pathway, he found surfing, which, if you listen to his passion talking about surfing, is his saviour, and for many other veterans that have been helped with surfing through lots of different charities. So, please enjoy my conversation with an absolutely extraordinary and inspiring human being, the one-limb surfer, Martin Pollock. Martin Pollock, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Couple of questions to start then. How are you? Where are you? And when was the last time you surfed?
I'm all good. Hot, but for once. Well, actually not for once because I usually run warm, but this is hot for here. But I'm at home in Cornwall. I'm down on the Lizard, so I'm about 4 miles away from being as far south as you can on the mainland. And then actually when was it? It was only a few days ago. No, nearly a week ago now. But it was like, I thought it was okay, even though being not that great, but I got down there and it was terrible. So I was only in the water about 15 minutes and then got out.
Where do you surf locally then?
Poldhu Beach, which is like, it's less than a mile from my house. So that's my usual one. But sometimes I go over to Braw Surf and there's Church Cove and a couple of places very occasionally on the north coast. But especially this time of year, I don't really go over there. It's just way too many people.
Yeah, I know all those places really well. Being part of the Navy surf team, we used to do like beginners weekends, which is like teaching forces dependents how to surf over a weekend period. So we used to stay down. What's the pub called at the top of Sennen? I can't remember what the name is. Basically, there's a pub at the top, and we used to camp behind it.
Okay.
But we got banned from staying there because one night after a few beers, inside the church hall, they had a load of like theatre costumes in the back, and we kind of got dressed and they caught us doing that and we got banned from it. So yeah, I haven't been down there since.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So what I'd like to talk to you about, mate, is, if you don't mind me saying, you are a triple amputee that happened during Afghanistan. We'll come on to talking about that a little bit later on. But
sure.
what I think really ties nicely in with kind of the niche of the podcast is the fact that you are ex-serving military
Mhm.
and you surf, which, and to a really good standard. If anyone has never seen Martin surfing, with his adapted surfing board that makes me sound really kooky, doesn't it? If anyone's ever seen Martin surf on any of the YouTube videos and any of the social media stuff, you are super good, mate. If you don't mind me saying.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I don't. I know I'm doing all right, but I'm not where I want to be yet. Not doing the things I want to be doing. So, to me, it's still not quite good enough. So, so
Well, I think that's the military side of you talking, the part where you've trained to do something, but it's never good enough. And I don't think even if you hit the peak where you think you want to be, that will never be good enough either.
no, 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 you can't.
Uh,
That's probably right. But partly, I think there as well with surfing is you can never do it perfectly anyway. So you're always gonna. It's always just more trying to be as good as possible. Not, and you can always be better. So, so
well, unless you go down the soul surfer route where you kind of like it's a spiritual thing and a way of life as opposed to.
it is a bit like that for me, but there's because it's not just the competition side of it, but even when I'm just cruising and having fun and that, I'm always trying something, or there might be something, whether it's the positioning or picking the right spot to paddle out, or there's always something that I'll make mistakes with and try and improve and that. So, but yeah, I'm a bit of a mixed bag on that between just wanting to just go and surf and experience as many different ways as possible around the world, but then also the competitive side. So, yeah, and I think that side does fire me up more than on in general, but I do like like you say, the soul surfer, free spirit kind of thing as well.
Do you find the mental side of it? I mean, I was going to talk about this a little bit later on, but we're here
Yeah,
now. So, do you
yeah,
find the mental side of it is really really helpful? I mean, I'll give you a little bit of point of sort of like a comparison. I've done a few tours of Afghan and stuff, and I think that if I didn't have something to focus on, like surfing or jiu-jitsu, I'd maybe struggle a little bit more mentally. And I have found over the years now that I have looked to breathing, yoga, meditation, if you want to call it that. I don't like calling
yeah,
meditation at the moment for some reason. I just call it breathing with my eyes closed. But I find it
right.
has a real sort of like calming influence to me. Do you find that to an extent?
Um, do you mean with surfing on its own, or all the other bits as
Yeah,
well?
just all the
All
bits
of
and
it.
bobs
Yeah,
that come with it, because the
mm.
breathing side of things, but
Yeah,
also being out in the water kind of ties in together
yeah,
really nicely, I think.
yeah. No, I do. I do that stuff as well. And the yoga and the meditation, or I kind of got introduced to during rehab at Headley Court, and the same with surfing as well. I didn't learn until during my rehab, um, and it was kind of all similar sort of time frame. Um, I think. Um, oh no, surfing might have been first, but yeah, I do find it helps. I think for me, having something to focus on and work on is more beneficial than the activity itself. As I've found now, it's like, yeah, because I'm in this lucky position where, because of everything, I don't actually have to have a specific job. Like, I don't have to work, but I have to work from my head and for me to be even satisfied with my life. So yeah, I got to work on my surfing, my um, my body for that. And yeah, the breathing, all that comes into and does help. But for me, like through the work that I've done with Operation Surf, which does that sort of thing of introducing surfing to military, like you were saying you did with the dependents, and they do a dependence thing as well, but it's more directly for the guys affected by the service. And through the work with them, a lot of the guys say like just being in the water is beneficial and just doing that is good. But for me, that it's not really like that. It's like I could go out there and I can't go out there if it's crappy. It's like I need to go and actually be having decent rides to enjoy it and actually be practicing working on the stuff that I'm trying to do to actually get that satisfaction and then the good feeling afterwards. But then through what I've learned with the meditation I looked into some of the research and stuff behind it and look at studies that have been done it, like where I've seen some stuff where they had monks in CT scanners looking at what their brain's actually doing while they're doing it, and the effects that can happen on the brain is the calming bit. And so I believe in it and I like it and it works. And I've kind of tried to put that practice, like the breathing focus practice, over into other things as well. Like where I've recently, well, not recent, a few months ago, sort of tweaked training a little bit, from doing so much of the heavy strength stuff to more some of the postural control and actual mobility and control work from my shoulder joints and getting everything in the right spot. And so I'd even put into having that focus. If I notice my shoulders sort of rounding through and stuff, is I have that moment of, okay, right, bring it back, pull them back in the right spot and hold it there for a bit. And it's just constantly, I'm like, and I do the same with breathing, not just when I'm meditating, but all the time. If I notice I'm drifting off that pattern, like the slow control pattern, I try and bring it back. And yeah, I try and apply it all through. So, and as far as headspace goes and that, I don't think I've been in a better spot like ever. So,
have you ever read a book called The Balloon Mind?
Yeah, I'm actually in it.
Are you? What,
yeah.
The Wallace J. Nichols one?
Yeah. Because I met him a couple of years before, or while he was writing that, and he because he lives just north of Santa Cruz, I think, and he'd come along to some of the up surf events, and then they did a conference for the release of the book, and they did it up Bedruthen Steps up on the north coast of Cornwall, and I went up there, actually did a talk for him and that. So
that's really interesting.
Apparently, I'm actually mentioned in the book as well at some point. I didn't actually get that far through reading it, to be honest.
I read it a couple of times last year. I found it really interesting, all the concepts about, why humans are drawn to water, and especially like you live on the mainland, everyone goes on holiday and they're drawn to like swimming pools and they want to sit by a pool as opposed to like, I just find all that kind of concept really kind of intriguing. And when you really look into sort of like the psychological and almost biological aspects of it, it does make sense. And it makes sense to me, which is, you're always comparing things to what you're doing or how you're thinking, especially as you get older. I think that's one of the key elements of wisdom, right? Is that you look back on things and you learn from them, and if you don't, well, you're just stupid. But that's kind of how I felt that book really affected me. I should really go back and see if you're in it.
Yeah, that's what apparently. But like I'm like that with books anyway. It's like I always start getting going and maybe get like quarter to halfway through, and then I get distracted and forget about it.
I think books like that sometimes, I don't know whether you find, is that they are quite hard going sometimes. Like, I'm not a big reader.
No,
I'm more about reading books like about surfer biographies. I read them and then I get bored with them. I then go into like fiction, go into like stuff about Lord of the Rings and all fantasy stuff. I prefer reading that sort of thing.
Right.
But when I do actually sit down and read something like that, I have to really concentrate on it, and I do have to go back and read back over chapters to really take it in. But I think that's just kind of a thing that was something that happened at school, because I was never really that into education, if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah, no, I was the same. Once I started needing glasses, and that meant I couldn't do because I always wanted to be a fighter pilot when I was a kid. So once I couldn't do that anymore, I was just like school. That I didn't bother. So, um, but yeah, on the like we said about the biology side of it as well as the mental. Um, I think part of that and why I think surfing in particular becomes so beneficial is to do with it's partly to do with connecting to nature, but because we're part of it anyway. Um, but it's all to do with like energy transference. I think is like there's a bit. I don't know if you've seen the movie Thundercloud. You know about that 2012 swelling cloud break that happened during the CT comp.
I think I
Like
have a while
big,
back.
like
Yeah.
massive swell, like that film is I just got a little few goosebumps thinking about it, but it's like yeah, absolutely mental. But at the end of it, Mark Healy was talking about this same sort of thing, and saying how and it's basically like with how the planet gets the energy and those how the systems work with the sun coming down and charging the oceans, creating the storms that make the swell. And because like energy is never created or destroyed, it's only transformed and moved through. So you've got all that energy coming from the sun, then that's going through as your wave energy. That's then breaking. Sun's going off as sound energy, and because we're like inside, we're like the planet, we're like 70% salt water. It's like it's just passing into us, and I think that's probably a big part as to why being in the water and especially the ocean is like so beneficial.
It's definitely. I don't understand. Like I'm going off on a real tangent here and going a bit deep, but
Mm.
it is definitely a healing place, and it's
Yeah,
really noticeable, especially with my wife. When I haven't been in the water for a few weeks or there's been a decent run of swell. Been really lucky since January through to maybe the beginning of May when we had some decent swells running.
yeah,
Managed to score a few really decent reefs, and I think
yeah.
sometimes you kind of get greedy with it too.
Right.
And then now where it's super hot, there's no swell running at all. There's no wind either. You're
No.
kind of like chundering a bit because it's the summer. You're like, oh, I can't wait till the winter again. And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, you're always trying to better the last wave, I guess.
yeah, yeah. That's it. Yeah.
I'd like to talk a little bit, go back and talk about your life before the military. So, where did you grow up and why did you join the army?
Well, I actually still live in the same village I grew up, so like right down here in Cornwall. Luckily though, um, my parents actually moved down here when I was like 6 months old, because they were working for NAFI at the time when I was born,
Oh,
and
really?
actually, yeah, they were actually running one of the pubs on one of the Paras barracks in Aldershot. So I was actually born there, and then they moved down here, and then and I guess it's kind of a tie to that with like most of the men and family had been in and been in the army. So um, like my mum's dad was I forget. I think he was engineers in North Africa during the Second World War, and then my dad's dad was one of the first paras actually, and was actually in Arnhem during the war. So yeah, so it was always going to be that way. But that's where I look back on my choices, and I was that point with maybe going paras as well or trying to, but I went rifles in the end. That was what called me more. So.
What made you get drawn towards the rifles?
Well, this is a little bit of a random story actually, but when I went to selection, I was actually going for aircraft tech in the REME, and I had all the grades, everything I needed to pass all the extra aptitude tests and everything. But there you go. Oh, your uncorrected eyesight on the medical requirements is too weak, so you can't go in the REME. So I was like, okay. And they gave me a list of jobs to choose from. So I had there was nurse and radiographer and all these, there's like a full A4 sheet of list of jobs, and I kind of got narrowed down to that. And when what I was looking at, just that called out to me more. So, so
So when did you join up? What year?
that was '08. I actually started training the beginning of the October in '08, and then deployed to Afghan exactly a year later. So,
Well, that's a pretty quick turnaround.
yeah, got out at basic, straight to the beginning of the pre-deployment training, and then straight out. So,
Yes. So I'd returned from Herrick 5 in 2007, and then I
right.
went straight onto like a recruit training team and
Okay.
took a bunch of recruits through, and they pretty much did something very similar to you. They went through their basic training, and then within 6 months to a year of passing out there, they were straight on the ground up in Helmand, which is
Yeah.
I guess these days the way that things are, where there's not much going on. Say COVID's not, you can't rate that, but wartime situation.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you join up for, though, right?
Well, yeah, it's to do what you needed to do. Yeah, and do yeah. Basically, yeah, that is that's what you join up to do. Yeah, it's,
How did you feel about passing out of training and going straight out to Afghan? Do you remember how you felt before you went?
um, no, I didn't. I don't really. No, not really. I was just in the flow of doing it all. I don't really remember any worries or anything like that. It was just going to be going and doing the job. That's and what I signed up to do. So it's
Because you're
just,
in the cycle, aren't you? And you're with the lads, and you just go
yeah,
along with it anyway. And you get told what to do, and you're like, fuck it, I'll just
yeah,
just just go with the flow. I've got a few weeks off before I go. Oh, brilliant! There, let's make the most of that.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I don't have any like my own family or anything like that to have any worries coming from outside or anything like that. And um, but yeah, yeah. No, actually, that's kind of a funny one. I might have cursed myself because in that we had like the couple of weeks we had before actually deploying, and I come home, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go and like walk a load of the coast path like that I haven't walked before, just in case I can't again. And like, and so I went from here in Mullen round to Penzance over the course of like a day and a half, and slept out on the cliff around just past Braw and um, yeah, and did that. I only had like I put a poncho up. It's actually my desert one that I brought home, and like between a wall and then the ground, just between like just made like a little pitch to sleep under. And when I woke up in the morning, because I'd done it in the night, I'd actually like basically slept on top of like the openings of like rabbit runs and stuff. So
Oh no way!
yeah, but luckily I didn't get any company. So, but yeah, might have just cursed myself a little bit, but
Yeah, big time.
yeah, yeah.
How what Herrick did you deploy on?
Um, oh, I think I was 11. I think.
Was it 11? Was it?
Yeah, yeah,
Do you
yeah.
know
Yeah,
why I
because
say that? I'm kind of going to go off on the tangent a little bit. So I went out on Herrick 12, and where were you stationed? Where were you based?
Inkerman was the anyone.
Mate, do you know what? I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah,
Do you know why?
you was
I was with Bravo Company. When I got to Bastion, we got told we were going to Inkerman, and that's where I was
all right. Oh,
for my last tour basically.
that's all right. Oh,
And
so you're on 12, like after us.
yeah, so I came after you, and I remember sitting in Bastion, and I was really apprehensive
Yeah,
about going out there, and I'm not afraid to say it because I got a Kazivac on the end of 5. I got blown up in a Wimmick by an anti-tank mine.
right. Okay.
Um, so yeah, I had nothing catastrophic. I had a few blast injuries to my eyes. My ears were wrecked. I dislocated my wrist for being thrown out of the vehicle. So when before the pre-deployment training, because I was in anti-tanks, like
Hmm.
sort of like a standoffish role, but also ground troops as well, in a fire support sort of like role. We got told we were going to get vehicle borne, and I absolutely shit a brick because it was one of the things that I was looking. Sounds really sad or weird. one of the things I was looking forward to was going on the ground. And
Yeah,
then when I got told I was going in a vehicle, I was like, oh my God. And then, especially, the Mastiff. Did you have Mastiffs when you were there?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
being in the
We didn't
commander's
really use
position
them.
there. Oh, did you not?
No, no.
So there's one route in and one route out of that bar the cupola, and that's it. And I was bricking it. So I went on these commanders courses, and I was like, if I get it in this, yeah. So I was pretty scared going out. And then when we hit Bastion, we had one of your guys from Inkerman come back. One of the Valen lads. I can't remember his name now, so forgive me.
No. Right.
And he was just saying about all the IED strikes and the casualties that you guys took, and I was like,
Yeah,
oh shit.
yeah, yeah,
It's not the thing that you really want to hear when you're taking over from somebody,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's quite a few. So I actually I don't know the numbers or anything, but I know like just from my platoon at training, um, because there was quite a chunk of us were all on the same tour, um, and there was me, um, one, two, I think it was two others lost both legs above knee. Then I think there was it one, two. There's a couple were killed, and um, another one got caught in the blast that killed one of the guys, like from my training platoon. But he was all right, and it like fractured his back, like the top and bottom lines of the armor plate on his back, like where he got thrown forward. Yeah, so he got sent home, did all his rehab, was fine, and then like I think it was just after all the lads got back, there was like a night out or something, and he was ended up walking back to camp, and we were based at Bulford, near Stonehenge, and he was crossing the 303 and got hit by a van, and killed. So there was
Mate,
like
that's horrendous.
yeah, so there's like yeah, out of my training platoon, there's like yeah, quite like six or seven. Well, yes, there's two or three. Is it three dead and yeah, a bunch of casualties as well. So yeah.
Did you know when you went into the area that it was going to be IED'd so much as that, or was it just something that happened over the time that you were there?
Well, I remember when we were training for it, and I think they knew it was going to be like that. I think, yeah. So, because we did do quite a lot of work on that, like all the Valen detection and that. But yeah, and I remember one patrol we went out and ended up with like, I think we found like two within like 20, 30 meters of each other as we were going to go in one, as my section was going into one compound where the other two were, one was going in to check one, the other was going to another cover point. We come up to the compound we're going to, go up to the side of the wall, and then we was going to go round to go in, go to one corner, because I was always doing the cover for the Valen guy, so I've gone with him, and I was always marking the route as well and on the patrols and doing that. So that was fun. Actually, do it every few steps, doing a squat with all the weight and marking but yeah, we got to this one, went to one corner to go round, and there was like a pile of stones with like wires sticking out, which might have been like a decoy. Because then we went to the other corner, and I was like on the knee looking, and he's like, "Yeah, I think we better go back." And he's like, "What?" And he's like, "Look over there," and like it was only like a few meters in front. There's like a patch where the dirt had moved, and there was like you could see the plastic bag wrapping the plate, and that. So yeah, it was quite close together, and seen a few. I saw a couple. Was it one, two mastiffs get? Well, definitely one got destroyed, and which was that when we went down to the patrol bases after, and we were setting them up. There was the one we were in. There was a culvert right next to it, and I guess there was an IED in it. And yeah, mastiff took out. The crater was like 5 foot deep, and the front end of the mastiff was like basically gone. And I think that one of the guys in it had got thrown over into the field as well. And nobody killed in that though. I think the commander might have lost the lower leg maybe. Um, That was something to see. Although it's saw like the dust cloud and then the aftermath. So, yeah.
Here's an interesting fact for you, and this is why I changed my branch after Herrick 12.
Right.
I got blown up 22 times in Mastiffs.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, in that entire tour, whether it was wheels taken off, and the bottoms taken out. So it just goes to show that even though I was dreading going into them, they were pretty decent.
Yeah.
The only time and this is a really strange thing. So I remember the guy from your platoon that came down to. This is highly ironic, by the way. Me talking to you like you were the tour before me.
Yeah.
And it's giving me
guys like
mega goosebumps down my spine talking about this. The guy that came and spoke to us before basically just said the 611 between Inkerman and Fob Jackson, which is where the Sangin DC used to be or is, was just littered with the IEDs. Yeah. When we got there, we were driving up and down from Jackson like it was just, we're going out for a Sunday drive. Right. It wasn't until at least a couple of months in where it started getting a little bit more kinetic that, the ID started getting laid, and then, our company HQ decided that it wasn't the best idea to go to Jackson to get the lads' mail and drop it off to them at the PBs. So
yeah, probably not.
That's what they were using this for at the time.
All right. Yeah. But you guys were still using the patrol bases then?
Yeah, so the PBs were still there. You had Ezra, Barrioli.
Yeah.
What were there was two more. Sugar. That was the one closest.
Because I was in Sugar.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, we set that one up. Yeah. So, and then they set up Rich's Post as well. That was there.
Which is the little one that was just off
the corner of the road by. Just up from Sugar, but yeah.
Oh, so was Sugar the one that was the closest to Inkerman?
No, there was two. But was it one or two between that and? No, I think it was one. Yeah, there was one or two.
If you're listening to this and you think we're absolute idiots because we can't remember it, it's fucking nearly 10 years ago.
11 for me.
Yeah,
11 and a half actually since I got blown up. So.
Yeah, so we had one that was just outside of Inkerman, which you could see, through the naked eye, and then there was two more a bit further down, and then there was one that was the closer, just before like the build-up area for Sangin. The 611 went into there. But was the do you remember the little outpost that was at the bottom of one of the entryways to one of the PBs that was set up in the green belt?
Yeah.
Rich's
Post, wasn't it?
Like, yeah, is that what it was called? I can't remember.
Yeah, because that was set up after this actually happened the night that I went from R&R, and I'd gone back to Inkerman to head home, and so it was like not long before Christmas of 2009. So I was actually getting home on Christmas Eve, which I was really surprised I got that date, being I was one of the new guys. I don't know how it happened, but so I get the shout in the middle of the night when the guys come woke me up and told me what had gone on. But my section was going out to do an OP. That was on the inside of that corner. But they'd gone to the compound on the outside of the corner to do an OP that night. And like they were preparing to go out as I was going back to the fob. And we had a RMP lad with us. And I think he took my spot in the section, and they're setting up. And the guys that are at the next PB, the snipers decided that they could see Taliban setting up and digging in something. You got the whole section up there going, no, you're shooting at us, fucking the rounds are coming past the head and all that. and then he like this one round went like it's actually for our section. You know, on the old Osprey, there's like the flapper material below the back plate. It like went through it. There's like two holes in his like armor plate, the flapper material, and then it went through the chest of that lad that took my place and killed him like straight out. And so then that, and his name was Pritchard and surname, so that's where then it came Pritchard's Post after. So yeah, just one of those things. Yeah,
it is, and you would have thought that this day and age, you know, with the comms situation and
the guys were on the radio to him telling them as well. And it's like, can you not see like the shape of the helmets and the body armor and that? And I remember how much detail you could make out on the thermal cameras that we had on Stag. And it's like, so surely the snipers are going to have like at least decent stuff to know, you know? And especially if people are telling you the rounds you're firing are coming past us, like just stop shooting. It's not hard, like, but it's
from my perspective and looking back at things these days, is there's always 2 points of view.
Yeah.
You don't know what they were seeing.
Yeah.
There could have been something different. I don't know.
No.
It's really difficult to say, isn't it?
Yeah. And especially as I wasn't even there either, and it's what the guys told me after. So
one of my good friends, Pritchard's Post was still up there. He was tasked to go in there with one of his sections. It was kind of like they did the rotation through with it. Don't know why, because it was, you could, the guy that used to live in that house used to climb over the wall, and go and see him, which is so random, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But the Taliban, halfway through the tour, put an IED on the bottom. Somehow managed to put an IED underneath the top Sangha and blew a massive hole in it. So there was literally a breach in the wall then.
Right.
And, we came gallivanting down in the Mastiffs and had a massive contact down there and managed to get the lads out in the end, and we had to destroy the building in the end and then pay the guy off because we blew his house up. I still remember going in there actually and setting them up. That must have been a bit of a wild time doing that because, as well as the IED threat that was there, did you have much kinetic?
Some
and stuff going on.
That was like the middle of December, so there wasn't like a whole. I think when it got that cold, there wasn't a whole lot of that going on. There was some, but not loads. But like that day, I mean, we got picked up by Chinook, I think, and flew down to Jackson, and then got drove up from there in Masters, and dropped off. And I remember when we got out of the vehicle and that. I remember them like we were outside waiting for the family to move out, paying them off. But I guess it was prearranged, but and going in, and I remember this is like middle of December, or second week of December or something, I think it was. And so like below freezing at night, and like getting off the vehicles, and I was like thinking ahead a bit. I'm like, say to my platoon sergeant, like, get all the kit, get all the Bergens and that off. And he's like, nah, fine on there for a bit. Like the vehicles are staying here. We'll get in and then grab them. And while we were getting in, because they were giving us cover to get in, while we were getting in, they got retasked to go and do the next bit further up. So fucked off with all our kit on it. So I had like 2 days of just basic kit, like just my webbing and that. And, so I had like 2 nights sleeping on a concrete floor, and I had like 1 combat jacket on the floor and 1 over me, and that's it. No gone bag, nothing. Just so got a little bit chilly.
I remember those days, mate.
Yeah.
Just having a day sack, and that was it. And a jacket in the mountains of the Hindu Kush, and that's another story.
But as for contacts, I mean, there was some, we'd get shot at a bit when setting those up, and I'd actually had yeah, I suppose that's a tangent we could go on to. I had one earlier in the tour as well, but which had led me to be when I'm sat there, I'm sat at the wall. Basically, I was on stag, but with no sanger, and I was there while the engineers were building it around me, basically, and obviously the Taliban can all see what's going on, and there'd be times they start shooting at us. The engineers are like, "The fuck," like this, and I'm like, just sat there like, did that's like at least 20 feet above our head. What are you doing? So, so I look back and I was a little bit got too comfortable, maybe, or maybe it seems too comfortable with that scenario. But the reason why was like 6 weeks in, we were still up in Inkerman, and we was doing I don't know if remember, there was further up the 611, there was like there's a bit of a wadi and the road went off to the right into the desert, and like so there was the high ground there, and then there was like a main patch of compounds just in the green zone, and we'd been contacted there before. But here we were doing this VCP, and the guys were back in the valley a little bit, but my section was up on the high ground, Overwatch, and it was like be up there for like 3.5 hours or something. And just as we were like starting to leave, or just before, it's like you see like all the civilians that were there just like clearing out, and I was like, okay. And like as I picked up my pack, and I had the ECM blue as well, and like so I just picked that up, and yeah, one round went over my head, like felt pretty close, and like just I dropped to the floor then again, and I don't know why I did it that way, and I went to throw my pack off straight away instead of because there was a couple of compounds there. Instead of first going straight for the cover, I just hit the deck and went to throw it off. And as I went to push off to move, another round come in and hit me in the leg just above the knee. But I think since after like thinking about it after, partly because of the shape of the wound, I think it must have like skimmed the floor first and gone in sideways, because it didn't go through or anything and didn't do like really any damage. I was like in Bastion for like 2 weeks and got stitched up and then rejoined the unit. So I think that sort of thing going on then led to me being a bit like, yeah, not even close. Don't worry about it. So
what led up to you getting your injuries that you have now? What was the patrol and
right.
what was sort of like the setting for it?
Yeah, so that one was it's when we were down in Sugar, and because I remember there's like the front section by the road was down low, and then the main part of it was up on the hill, and the two compounds over, it sort of jutted out a bit to the one that was next in between the two, and they had one of their murder holes in the front of it looking down onto one of the sangers, and there was another one in the opposite corner that we get contacted from on the road. And so we basically gone out first light out the back of Sugar, and we actually, rather than using the alleyways and that in case of booby traps, we was like up on the walls going up over the roofs and that, and went over and then dropped down into it and basically gone in there to knock those walls down so they couldn't use them. And the one that was on the far side was in their like little toilet rooms that they have in the compounds, and there's like a rag over it. And we got in it, the Valen had all been done and everything, and me and my buddy went in to go and knock that wall down. I was carrying the sledgehammer in my left hand, and which now it's funny, the nerve sensation that still feels like that now, like it still feels the same. So yeah, and then I remember we stepped in the room. I remember putting my rifle down, leaning it against the wall, and then going, right, let's do this. And that was it. I don't remember. Well, next bit I remember, I'm guessing was like 10, 15 seconds after. And I remember digging dirt out of my mouth and feeling like I couldn't breathe. And no, I couldn't see anything. And so a couple of lads have told me since that like where I did have dirt in my mouth, it had also covered my eyes up and that, and so I couldn't see anything. And it was one of the walls had fallen down and was laying on me, which is why I couldn't breathe. So, and that's all I remember. And then maybe 10 minutes later, I don't know how long, but I remember being on the stretcher, being run back up the 611 back to get picked up. And I remember the two of our section commanders that had come up from other sections to help talking to me on the head of the stretcher. And I remember saying to them, I felt like I was drifting out, like what I imagined dying would be like. But I think it was it was just my mind blacking out. Because the anaesthetist from the MERT that come picked us up came and visited me in hospital and said I was awake and talking the whole way back to the Bastion. So, but I've got no memory other than those two bits until I woke up in Birmingham, like 2 weeks later. So.
It's crazy, isn't it? The amount that the mind can take, especially with catastrophic injuries as well.
Yeah.
It's crazy how it just it's got that self-preservation mode in there too. And I guess it's like, you could use the analogy of like fighters when they get knocked out, people are talking to them afterwards, but then they never really remember anything, for a certain time afterwards. And that must have been, what sort of happened to you. You must have had like a massive concussion as well.
Yeah, I think I did because obviously, like I said, I was inside the room in that. And I think the actual idea itself was probably I don't actually know how it was set off, what actually happened. I haven't asked, it doesn't matter, it doesn't change anything. But when I've thought about it, because of how my injuries are and how the other guy was, I'm pretty sure it had been put in the wall from the outside and was like just outside that room maybe. And because like my left leg's like slightly longer than my right, and the blast goes in the cone. And at the time, my arm it just blew the forearm bones out and had left the hand on a strip of skin. And obviously my right hand's fine, and I had a perforated drum on my left ear. So I'm pretty sure it was there and slightly behind me, because my mate, who was maybe a meter in front of me, maybe just over. Like it was his right eardrum got perforated, so I guess the sound bounced off the wall, and then he had a couple of scratches on his back, and that was it. And when they come to find me, they didn't find him for a minute because he got sent like through the wall into the next compound down the hill, like down low, so they didn't find him straight away. But yeah, he only had like minor scratches and stuff, nothing. So that's why I'm pretty sure it was behind me. So, but yeah,
it's a good recollection of something, quite catastrophic that's happened to you,
But yeah, that was it. That's where I started. See, I tangented. Yeah, I'm pretty sure concussion. That was it. I'm pretty sure I did because I reckon I was slammed in the roof, and I've got there's a scar across the back of my neck, and the only thing I could think that was from my helmet going back. The impact, so then it looks like it's that sort of line across the bottom edge of the helmet. But yeah, it's it is what it is.
So did you get flown back to the UK straight away, or did you stay in Bastion for a while?
I think from what I was in Bastion a couple of days.
Oh, really?
And then flown home. Yeah,
because
it was only like 1 or 2 days. It was only. I don't remember the exact dates, but I think it was only a couple of days. So
that's
actually, while I was in hospital that year, I don't know if you remember it because it would have been not long before you deployed, but there was a show on Channel 4 doing the flying hospital thing where they had crews on the C-17s bringing people back. My flight was actually on there. So I got to see myself like all bandaged up, intubated and everything on the plane coming back. But I was on there with like 4 others, and I got a little bit irritated because like they went through telling everyone what all their injuries were and everything, but left me out. And I was like, come on, just
send them an email back to edit it.
Sorry.
You should have sent them an email back so they could have edited it.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, it was 21.
So when you got back, I'm kind of pushing forward a little bit.
Yeah.
What were kind of the recovery pathways that you got put into, which kind of put you into the line of starting surfing? What were they, or what did that involve?
So I mean, it all actually started right in hospital. One of the I think it was the head prosthetist at the time, come up to cast my arm up and get that going, and also there was. But then when I got to the rehab center, there's obviously all the base physical training that they take you through, and showing you how to adapt things and do things differently, like so that you can do that work. And um, then they show you and actually take you through like getting the legs made and what you can do. You can see everything that's possible and what other people are doing. And then there's all the activities that they do, or which a lot was run by Battleback. I don't know if you'd ever heard them, but it was kind of a sub part of Help for Heroes for doing our like adventure training stuff. So there's always stuff advertised, like there's like opportunities to go gliding, and I actually went kayaking with them in Germany, and there's like in the spring summer months we'd go to one of the lakes near Heathrow and be doing water skiing and stuff, and so yeah, we were just given all these opportunities to try things, and then if you found something you want to stick on, you can just like jump on it and go, and then you get all the support you could need. And like with me, with all my stuff, I'd several times go back into them and go, I want to try this design for a paddle arm and do this, and can we try making this? And it was all that side of things of just showing you what things can be done, and then enabling you to go do it and do what you want to do. So
It's pretty cool, the sort of like the development of the Afghanistan era, and again, I'm going to use the analogy of recovery pathways
yeah,
to getting people like yourself back to kind of getting that self-confidence back as well.
yeah,
Because I remember back 2007 when I came back, that there was literally none of that. I you say, and this is how far everything had come in that 5-year period, is that Bastion, there was only one Camp Bastion there, and I literally was there for about, can I ever remember being there? No, I got flown straight to Kandahar, and I was in Kandahar. There was a couple of other guys that were in Vikings that got hit by IEDs, and they were in a lot worse
yeah,
condition that I was in. And there weren't really IED strikes then either, because it wasn't an IED war, it was a kinetic war. It was going out, finding your enemy, the generic stuff that you join up to do.
yeah,
So when I literally was in Kandahar for about maybe 3 or 4 hours, and then I was on a plane back to the UK, which is kind of really funny, really, because I went back to Selly Hospital in Birmingham. I remember either waking up there or being there, and then within the day, my missus and my dad came and picked me up from the hospital, and I was back home again, and that was it, and that was literally it. So in the space of, I was in the last 2 weeks of my tour. So within the space of being blown up and being back in my mum and dad's house was probably about 5 days,
yeah,
which is mental. Like,
yeah,
could you imagine that now?
yeah.
And
No.
I didn't get any trim from it. I didn't have any counselling or anything. I was literally like, and the really like the worst thing about it is when I eventually came back, because everyone went on leave, everyone went on their pottle,
Yeah,
their 6 or 7 weeks off. When I got back, everyone had gone on draft, everyone had changed. The whole sort of like emphasis of that cohesion of being together with all those people, similarly to like what you would have had,
yeah,
it wasn't there. And I was like, it was a really weird transition, if I'm honest.
Hmm. Oh, I can
But
imagine.
so when did you realize that you were going to surfing was the pathway that you were going to take, or the linear line that you were going to kind of take up?
Um, well, I mean, I clicked with it straight away as soon as yeah, um, like, and it was funny because the way that first event went that I went to, I had an issue with my stubbies at the time, and I was walking at the welcoming bit, and there happened to be there's a prosthetist from one of the local prosthetic offices was there, and it the guy who run the event told him about the issue that I was having, and he was like, "Oh, come on, I'll just come over to the office and we'll sort it out." So I ended up doing that, and I didn't do like all the dry land training and all that stuff that was going on. So then I just showed up the first day going in the water, and just jumped in and went. And like where I was saying, I'd been doing the kayaking and all the water skiing and stuff before, and I'd done snow skiing as well. And so I don't know, just the transition on to how to maneuver the board and stuff just felt natural. Um, and I'd grown up in the water as well, although I hadn't surfed. Um, I was always comfortable in the water, so everything just flowed. And then when I come back, I got linked with a guy called Dan Joel here, who's got his surf school down at the beach near mine. And so I got linked with him to be able to keep going and keep surfing. And I was like, yeah, actually, yeah, I've got to keep doing this. And there was just something straight away that I was just like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And I think part of it was even then, I was able to see that it was something that I could do completely independently, because like I wanted to do more kayaking and stuff like that, but it's like I'd have to need help for that, I think. Although, well, now actually maybe I could manage it on my own, but even though I think those sort of things, if you're going to go down a river, you want someone with you anyway. But it was still, that was my mindset, was like, I want to be able to be independent with everything. And so, yeah, I was just like, just went for it. And it took a long time though. I was still like, it was, I want to say like at least a few years before I could actually do like a surf without having anyone pushing me, like even to get out or to catch waves or anything. It was a while, but I think there's there's probably too many aspects to that, reasons why to go into now, but eventually managed to work through them all, and yeah, now it's I just go by myself, suit up by myself at home. Like I've got a board rack I've got this all terrain 4-wheel drive wheelchair, and I also got a board rack on the side of it, and so I suit up in my garage, put everything, well, unless I'm going somewhere else, but then I'll do it in the van. But yeah, just load up on the chair and just ride it down there, and just pop the board near the water. If the tide's going to be coming in, wheel the chair back up the beach and then hop back down the beach and jump in and go. And yeah, so
It's almost like one of the first e-bikes then, but with four wheels.
yeah, and the same price as like a brand new car as well. So,
Who is that?
yeah, thankfully I got a lot of help with that from Blesma and the Rifles charity. So it was yeah, 16 grand chair. So it's like, it's like
Talking about all those sort of like charities and stuff. How did you get involved with like the Wave Project and get involved with like the adaptive surfing competitions? Because you've just recently competed in the adaptive surf champs at the Wave in Bristol, haven't you?
yeah. So um, the Wave Project thing came. Well, I mean, I haven't done a whole lot with them, but I went up. I think there's maybe a video of me up, but on the flow rider things.
Okay.
I invited go up and just do some bits there, and there's some filming going on with me as well. But the guy was filming stuff with them as well, so it's through the filmer that happened.
Okay.
And then I can't even actually. This is where my memory's not that great actually, as to how I actually got linked with the competitive team in the beginning. I can't really remember. Um, can't
It
remember
must
if
have
I.
been kind of an evolution of being linked with like the other groups. I mean, were you with you talked about earlier the operational surf charity as well?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that something more recent, or was that something that's always kind of been there that has helped you along as you've adapted what you're doing?
Well, Operation Surf is actually where I learned surf. I got is based in California,
Okay.
and I actually got taken over with Help for Heroes in October 2012, and that's when I first learned. Um, and they're based like that's all they do is teach military like servicemen and women that have been affected by the service, and not just physical. And it's the people that it's the mental as well, and they're the ones that probably get more benefit from it than anyone else. But yeah, and I'd kept on. Yeah, I'd learnt with them. Then I wanted to go back to the next event 6 months later, and it was partly because I wanted to go back and do it again myself, but also it was to um, try and help them do the same thing that they'd done for me for others, so that I could have my perspective to help them, being in a similar position. And then that continued from there, and it's up until last year, with the pandemic starting. I was going over there like 2 or 3 times a year for like a couple months at a time, and like living with them, doing those events, and going around and surfing all sorts of spots over there. And I've actually probably surfed more different waves over there than I have here, so I tend to stay kind of local here. But yeah, and then that's where it developed from there. And then now there's like the full ambassador role that I have with them, um, and yeah, um, and I think it was maybe through that, or somebody had seen me. Yeah, I can't remember how the competing actually started, because I don't think I sought it out. I think someone said to me, "Oh, are you interested in doing this?" And I was like, "Yeah." Absolutely, but at the time, because I was being told, "Oh, you're really good, Jai," and up, but in my head, I'm like, "Yeah, you're only saying that because I'm riding like with no limbs, sitting down. If you compare it to what anyone else is doing, it's a load of shit." But I went into like the first comp I did, thinking, "Oh yeah, I'm really good," and all this, and go in, and it was just not always like I was like complete bottom of the rung, like. Actually, no, sorry, no. There was one person behind me actually, but it was like it not really any scores to speak of. I wasn't really. I mean, I could turn and go down the line and kind of trim and weave, but I wasn't doing any maneuvers or anything. I wasn't at that point then, and on really big boards as well, and that's boards have come down, maneuvers have started to develop, and it's moving on. So
It must be quite inspiring to see that other people in the same situation that you are doing things that you want to do and didn't think were possible. And then when you're seeing that, you
yeah,
know, it must be quite a, what's the word? Kind of a cool prospect, really, because you're like, do you know what? That's what I'm going to aim to do next time. And like we were talking about at the very start of the podcast, is you're just trying to better yourself each time, and that's
yeah,
what I think's really unique about surfing or anything. I do jiu-jitsu as well, and
right.
it's why they compare so well, is because you're always learning, and every time you go out there, there's something different than you pick up on, and you get better. Whether it's 0.1 of a mil each single time,
Yeah,
and something to progress towards as well.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And I've definitely made a lot, especially this last year, but in particular, last like 4 or 5 months, because I've been up to the wave pool quite a lot, and having those repetitions of good waves to actually be able to try what I've got in my head, has made the development big time, like go really quickly, and like getting the equipment better. Like one little change I made a few months ago was taking the fins off that I'd been given with that board that I usually ride, which were way too big. And I got onto the size fins that were right for my weight. And then I went from like stiff fiberglass ones to, on the FCS range, like the arc ones. So like more speed generating ones. And the difference was like that. It went from like turns going from like to feeling like they were going around.
Fins can be a game changer.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of that. And then I know I've made progress because I thought I was just from how it felt even on the lefts. And I know I did. That was always my weak point because I'm a regular foot. And so I used to actually would avoid going left actually because I just like going right. But I've put time in, improved going right as well. And then when we actually went into the comp, I knew I closed the gap because for like the first half of the right heat in my sit and kneeling category, I was leading, and then it was only like the fifth set out of six that the other guy took the lead on the right because you're taking the top right score and the top left score and put them together in the pool. But our score was only 0.6 between the two of us, whereas last time it was like a few points. But then I didn't surf as well as I did in practice on the actual heat. So I think I was like 5 points behind in the end, but the gap's closed. But obviously I'm developing and learning. And this guy's like, I actually said to him a few years ago, I seen him up at the Snowdonia Wave 4, and I was like, yo, I'm aiming for you, by the way. I'm like coming out, because he keeps winning. And where I'm developing, he's also developing, and he's like learned to do like a full 360 spin on takeoff. And so he's like getting up into the excellent range and scores on lefts. But then when we talked after, because it's looking at because we're in different positions because he's only missing one leg, but he rides on his knee and then with his arm holding the rail as well. So his balance point is actually a lot small. Like what he's balancing on is a lot smaller than mine. And because I was looking at, he's facing forward, he's holding the rail and pulling the board round and not actually fully realizing what his struggle was. So we all have different ones that are limiting, and it's not always as clear as what you think. So we're probably once I can develop it more even than maybe what it might appear from the outside.
Mate, you could blast him out of the water by practicing some airs.
Well, basically that's what someone said to me, is like, oh, now you've got to learn the 360. And I was like, well, no, because I'm always catching up and he's going to learn something else new. So I'm like, looking at how that's done, I'm not sure if I can do it or not, but I haven't had a chance to try yet. But yeah, that's something that's something I want to do those days. That's what I'm thinking. I've got to go beyond that. And I know there was actually one day I had a wave in Santa Cruz. I was like inside of, what's the point called? Cowles Beach. So it's like the inside of the cove from Steamer Lane. So it comes along the point and then wraps in. There's like the inside bit there near the beach, and I was like going on this way, but there was this like refract chop coming back off the cliff, and it like hit that, and it launched me off the thing, and I was like, well, I like didn't land or anything, but like fell on. So I know I can get in there, but for years, I can't say how long, but obviously I will swear by visualization and all, and there's the dream scenario I've had in my head for years is to like be on, it could be like J-Bay or like, but really in my head it's backdoor, that I like had this sick like for a 10-foot barrel like going and then come out and just like a huge like alley-oop out the end. That's what's been in my head for I don't know how long. And so now I've had my first barrel, but not the rest. So that's got to come. And but I mean, yeah, It's that would probably be the next thing, I think.
Those are your aims and your goals, right? And if you don't have them, well, there's not a lot to kind of look to, is there? You know, we all need some sort of like point on the horizon to aim to, right?
Yeah,
I have no
yeah. And
idea what
like I
mine
was
is,
saying
but
with yeah, and like I was saying with the visualization working, and I would say to anyone who would probably work for anything, is because of having that goal in mind. Whenever I'm watching videos or the guys' vlogs and stuff, and I watch Jamie O'Brien a lot and Nathan Florence and all those guys and Kerr Rothman and the guys from there, that like when they got the point of view shot. I mean, I'm not just looking at it going, oh yeah, oh, that looks nice. I'm like watching like where they're putting the board, looking at how the water's moving, the shapes that are going on, and like the timing, where they're going, what's happening to the feathering of the lip ahead of them, and when I actually my barrel, it's like I didn't think it was something that was going to come up in that instant because it was actually at Bristol in the wave pool, and but it was like at the end section on one of the settings that it isn't like the expert barrel setting, and I'd had like 3 or 4 turns, and like then I was I was just coming down to the bottom turn and go for another one on the inside, and then I just seen just exactly what I've been seeing in all these videos. Saw the shape change of the face and just instantly went, oh, what? And just like ducked straight in, and then see the lip line right ahead of me going just over the nose of my board. And then next thing I know, I'm out in the flats like, what? Like, and then I saw the next section look like it was going to do it again, but it wasn't really. And I went to try and tuck into that, and then it smacked me down. And then that's where I look at that now. If I had the same thing again, what I should have done was actually like float up and over it, or that would have been a good one to try and air up over that bit. So, but that's where visualization definitely helps, because if I hadn't have been pitching all that, I wouldn't have recognised that as being that opportunity to tuck in. It's and then I was in proper like happy dream mode all the way home, obviously as you would be, and I was sitting here thinking about it all, and then I went, oh wait, hang on, there's photographers up there all the time. So I went onto the page and was like, and then went, oh there it is. They got the whole wave on the sequence, like,
wow.
right from takeoff all the way through. So I went on and bought that whole lot. I was just like, and then instantly that went to my profile pictures, and I was like, but that because normally I'm quite emotionally level. I don't particularly get that excited or that down about stuff, and I never normally really cry or anything. But when I saw those photos and having real dream, I wasn't like, I was really happy, but I was streaming like full, like I guess all this emotion had let out because I'd actually done something that I'd been wanting to do and been working for a long time. And then it's actually unlocked a bit more, because now whenever I'm watching stuff where people are doing that, like going after what they're trying to do, like like I actually like watching like The Voice and American Idol and stuff, but more so the auditions and stuff. But because I love music anyway, and I don't really care if people think about those shows, and big parts of them are rubbish. But when you see people going like that and actually getting their dreams done, and I'll get all welling up now at that. And even yesterday, like I love F1 as well. And watching the race yesterday is one of the best races on the best weekends I've seen in a very long time. And I don't know if you watch that or not.
I watch it occasionally. I was going to flick it on, but yeah, I never got around to it in the end.
But like basically on the first lap, connection between Hamilton and Vettel. No, not Vettel. I'm on about Verstappen. It was still Red Bull, and he went off like 180 freaking into the barriers. Race stopped. Hamilton gets a 10-second penalty, which most people think was wrong, but it's what he said at the end. It's what happened. So he's got this penalty. He ends up at one point, I think he was 30 odd seconds behind, with like, I don't know, 15 laps left or something, 20 laps left or something, and just comes through 2 laps from the end, takes the lead and wins. And I'm like, as I'm like, you can feel it building as he's going, and like, and yes, as soon as he's getting close and made the pass, and I'm like, start crying, and I'm like, look, and it's like that moment. It's almost like it's unlocked something that was maybe, I don't know if it was held back, or maybe it's because I was so focused on trying to do that one thing that everything else was like staying out of it, and it wasn't registering. But yeah, there's yeah, I feel maybe more complete now. I don't know, but not, that's not like I felt incomplete, but I always felt a bit weird that I was so level, you know. And I see so many people going bah, 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 and get like reacting at stuff like really easily, and so I felt weird in some ways, but now it's like, yeah, it's like
Imagine
something.
what that barrel at pipe's going to be like, or back door then when you get it.
I know. Even just thinking about it, it starts to happen. So, but that, I think I need my first goal before I even think about doing that is I gotta go and surf Lev here, and is that, you know, that place, or
Yeah, know it
yeah,
very well. Yeah.
I know most people do, but I look at it and yeah, I think I'm just about ready now. And I've got quite a few people that surf it telling me I'm ready, and I'm like, yeah, okay. So
Got to do it.
that's got to be that first, and it's one of those things as well. I always thought a couple of years ago, I was thinking, where would I want my first one to be? And I had that thought that really I should have it at the closest barrel wave to me, but it didn't happen that way. So fucking dog. So something
Mate,
just came through. Something just came through the letterbox at the front door. So he just run out onto the patio at the back, barking.
so aggressive dogs sometimes, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, and he's a Cavalier King Charles as well.
Vicious.
Yeah, yeah.
Mate, what are your ambitions for the future?
Um, well, um, obviously getting more barrels, but good way.
Obviously.
Yeah, but not. I mean, obviously not just that, but there's all these like high class waves that I want to surf. But I was there like main goals in mind, and like I've already mentioned, like J Bay's one, and just look at that place, like, oh god. And Cloudbreak and the famous sort of things, and then I haven't been to Indo or any Bali or anything yet. I want to do all that. I think I'd want to go do it sailing, and I've done a little bit of sailing here, done like a comp crew course and that, and I want to go do some more of that. I might go and do boat building course soon in
Okay.
Falmouth. Yeah, and I actually met someone at the wave contest who actually teaches the course. So, and I'm quite interested in that. That sounds good. As it goes along with what else I'm doing now, anyway. And yeah, get my hand in better at shaping, and yeah, try and actually win a contest is one goal. Um, the like the world title would be nice, but I know how good the others are in my category, so it's not out of the question, but it's going to take a lot of work. But I like the work, so and then I've got more development going, more practice with walking on my full legs as well, like the X3 legs that I've got, because that was one thing while I was still doing the rehab, I couldn't get the feeling right, the connection with the socket to my leg, and because of tissue amounts and stuff. But recently, well, a few months ago, with my current prosthetist, found a design for the socket that sorts that out, and I got on them after not using them for 6 years, and it's like I was better than when I last used them, having not used them, which partly was down to my fitness as well, and my weight's down massively as well, which is something else we learned through that they had wrong at Headley to begin with. But that's maybe a story for another time. But yeah, yeah, that's probably my main goals. Really, I can't. I've got so many little interesting things that I try and do and work on that. Yeah, too many to go into right now, I think.
Mate, we're going to roll the podcast out. Just finish it off with a bit of a quick fire round like I do with all my surfing ones. So, if you had one fin set up for the rest of your life, would it be a single fin, twin fin, quad, bonzer, finless, or thruster?
I'd have to go with what's working really well at the moment, and that'd be a thruster. But
Favorite surfer? Oh, go on.
I do like twins though.
Very loose.
Basically, it's because if I'm on a normal board where the fins are in the normal place, need a twin. But because my setup's like kneeboarding, so it's further forward for the pivot.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, that's not very quick, but
it's great, mate. Favorite surfer and why?
Oh, it's got to be John. Of his love, the style, the speed, power, where he can put himself in the barrel. I mean, yeah, but there's several others that are very, very close in my eye, but he stands out to me.
The first surf film you ever watched?
Are
you looking at them on the side?
No, I'm just trying to think. I don't know actually.
Everyone gets stuck on this.
I can't remember. No, because there's a bunch of stuff on YouTube, but actual film that I remember earliest was Thundercloud. Yep. Yeah, but I couldn't say for certain, but that's the main big long feature length surf film. But then Hollywood one was Chasing Mavericks.
It's not a bad one.
At the end of that, I turned to my mate. I was like, "You want to push me in on one of them?"
Fair one. That's another one of those big waves, right?
Yeah. I would mind actually trying some big waves. So I might have a go at Cribber one year.
Goals, mate. It's all about goals.
Yeah.
The last surf film you watched?
Sonic Souvenirs. There's a piece from Vans. It's like a 20-minute piece about Mikey February. I don't know if you haven't seen it. Oh my god!
Yeah, I saw it the day it came out. I was waiting for it to come out.
He's one of my favourite surfers as well.
He's really stylish, isn't he?
Yeah.
The best person to share a lineup with?
There's this lad called Louis on the adaptive team, and it's just like the way it is and his character and everything being around, it just brings a mood up. And actually, when we had one of the training sessions of the team a few weeks before the comps, a month or so ago, and yeah, that session was on the left that was the best surfing I ever had. And I thought about it afterwards, it was the headspace and calm and chill, happy mood because of how he was being, and the interactions that we were having was just set me in this mood. I was just just flowing. So.
The worst person to share a lineup with? No one likes answering this.
Do you want an actual individual person, or?
You have to tell me.
I'd say all the Emmets that we get coming down here in the summer, that that can catch a wave and ride a board, but don't know what the hell they're doing. I've had so many times, even at home. One day I remember there's a group of 4 of them paddled out, but they were sitting right at the inside, right at the point where I'd be taking off. And I had to pull back from a load of waves, and because they're just sitting there and turning around and paddling without even looking what's going on behind them. And there's people like that that's the worst to be around. And then they were moaning about people getting in the way afterwards, and I snapped a little bit. But yeah.
If there's one wave you could surf for the rest of your life, what would it be, or where would it be?
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. I can't really say one that I haven't surfed yet. So,
where would you like? What's the main goal? Like, what wave would you like to surf then? If we would turn it that way.
Well, I think it'd have to be J-Bay is the one that I'd really want to go out of my way. I'd have to pick that, but it's like probably. Well, there's a wave near Santa Barbara that's like out on private land that I've been to, and I actually had one of my worst wipeout experiences at. I've had that wave perfect. If we're talking if it's in perfect conditions, that place probably, because it's one I've surfed already. But I think if it was one of those where it was like you've got your normal circulations of everything and it's not perfect every time and you can only surf one wave, it would be Bristol. So
it's a good answer.
I want good waves, so it's like and actually it's funny, a mate of mine, he's actually coaching Courtney Conolog at the moment, and he said that about Kelly's wave. He's because he surfed that, he said if he could only surf one wave again the rest of his life, that would be it.
Wave pools are the way forward, potentially.
Certainly for training.
Yeah.
Certainly for training. And they definitely should be part of competition. So.
Martin Pollock, thank you very much for joining me on the podcast. And I've loved your stories, mate. It's been epic.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. It's been a good one.
And that's it. So tune in on the 6th of September for a conversation with a fascinating man, former Royal Marine, owner of Greenberry Coffee Company and van life vlogger of the Nomadic Veteran channel on YouTube, Russ McDonough. So, catch you all then.